Good?
Instagram is now good.
Instagram is now good. All right. Welcome in. My name is Matt. I'm the owner of Colorado Nutrition along with my wife, and here with Jeff. He's a new sponsored athlete of ours and training for Spartan. We're gonna you tell us a little bit more there.
You tell us more. So I actually I came to Matt a couple weeks ago and we talked about nutrition. And really what I wanted to chat with Matt about was getting my nutrition on point. I've known enough about food to feel fairly confident, but for something as important as nutrition in an athlete, I felt it was necessary to come talk to Matt. So we talked about some things. We used an in-body scan, which we'll talk about in a little bit, to measure some things. And Matt has me on a nutrition plan. We're 2 weeks in.
2 weeks in. What are your results today, Jeff? Pretty nuts.
Matt said that they're really good. So I'm a numbers guy as well. But Matt, why don't you tell everybody what this in-body scan is, how it works, and then we're going to talk about nutrition 101.
Yeah, we'll just roll with it. Yeah.
4 things that everybody really needs to know about nutrition. And once I dialed in on these 4 things, it became very clear where we were going to be headed with our nutrition plan.
So with the in-body, we're tracking past just a weight. We're getting the overall, Jeff's overall muscle mass, his fat mass, his percent body fat, his water intake or his hydration status, even down to things like visceral fat. So in Jeff's first couple of weeks, he gained quite a bit of muscle. I think he gained 3 pounds of muscle in the last 3 weeks, or 2 weeks. That's just absolutely nuts. His percent body fat went from 16.4 to 13.1 today. I mean, just absolutely like superhuman stuff. So we're going to continue to track him every 2 weeks as he leans out during his training, increasing his nutrition as his workload increases. But very, very important.
Matt, so a lot of times when we talk about nutrition and weight, we look at what our weight is on the scale.
Right.
And Matt and I have talked a lot about really, there's an importance to that number, but it is not the tell-all by any means, because Matt's talking about these incredible results. However, my actual weight on the scale was less than 2 pounds in 2 weeks, which for a lot of people, they'd say, well, my diet's not working, what have you, and that's a mindset around it which doesn't work. The really cool thing is, Matt, if you could talk about it, is the muscle fat analysis and the obesity analysis, and how body fat percentages and so forth, how that plays in.
The best way to truly understand percent body fat and how it relates to your overall weight is picture a twin of yours. Like, say you have a twin. So Jeff, say there was a twin sitting next to you. Everything was the same. Like, obviously your height's the same, gender's the same, age is the same. Let's say your weight's the same as well. Say so you both have the same weight, but say he had like 5 pounds less muscle. So in order to make up that difference, because you guys are still weighing the same, you'd have to have 5 pounds more fat, right? So that the weight's the same. Well, his percent body fat would be drastically higher than yours. You would not wear the same clothes, but you'd have the same weight and the same BMI. So that's where weight is just so indiscriminate. It doesn't know what's going on. It doesn't know that your weight is made up of 91.5 pounds of muscle. Like, it could be made up of 80 pounds of muscle and extra fat to make up the difference there. But it's all about that percent. That's really what's telling you if we're heading the right direction. You absolutely did today. It was just unbelievable.
Right.
But what your muscle went up, your fat went down. Your fat went down more than your muscle went up. So you still lost a couple pounds of overall weight. But say you gained just as much muscle as you lost fat.
Right,
would stay the same.
Exactly.
But you lost fat, your percent body fat's down, you look better in the mirror, your clothes feel better, everything is right, but the weight is just so indiscriminate. It just doesn't mean very much, in tracking things. In the short term, the long term, whatever, it's about that percent.
Right. And I think a lot of people have probably heard of, body fat percentage and really looking at that. And that is definitely important, is the percent of body fat. So as you see that go down. So for me, seeing that go down and the muscle mass go up, it's
the best of both worlds.
It's the best of both worlds. Now, on the other hand, we also have to look at how long is this sustainable?
Right.
And where do we want to get to? So having a full-on plan. But this in-body scan here that I did with Matt at Colorado Nutrition, I mean, I'm telling you, this stuff really gives me and everybody that's been on it, I would imagine, some insight into more than just what's going in and what's going out. Where are things now and where are they headed? And I know I was told a long time ago that if you don't know where you're going or you don't have a plan, how are you going to know when you get there?
Yeah.
So we have a plan that we're working towards, my particular 2020 Spartan race season, and really excited about these first 2 weeks. But this scan, I would highly recommend coming and talking to Matt about getting one of these scans. At least find out where you are now,
Yeah.
and then you can come back in a few weeks.
Yeah, you gauge how you're doing,
You know.
It's past just that weight. The weight can stay the same on the scale, but which can be, if it's staying the same, or sometimes it even goes up. I have clients that their weight actually goes up a little bit, but they're losing fat still. They're gaining
Right,
muscle,
they're gaining muscle, losing fat, and their weight's going up.
Yeah, it's a whole,
again,
we call it recomp, but it's about losing fat.
Yeah.
It's about for most of us, right?
Yeah.
There's only a few out there that want to gain.
I love what you said earlier, that the weight, that the scale, it's indiscriminate. You can't really go off of that. It's worth getting in and knowing more about it. I'm psyched to know this stuff. So.
Awesome, fantastic.
Well, Matt, let's get into some nutrition 101. Let's talk about some general things.
There's some few things that throughout these years we've really kind of tried to hammer home, because anybody that tells you how many calories you should eat, the macronutrient breakdowns, without sitting down with you, without knowing who you are, like, even though I've known Jeff for like 2 years now, I would not have written you a nutrition plan without sitting down and talking with you for over an hour, a couple weeks ago, without having InBody, or at least knowing your percent body fat, going over like your specific exercise. So you remember the questions I asked you, like, when are you sleeping? When does your, before playing, when was energy low? When do you wake? Everything like that. So when it comes to those general, or those specific numbers of, like, because we'll have someone come and go, how many calories should I eat? I was like, I have no idea how many calories you should eat. Like, that takes me 2 hours just to write a nutrition plan to find those kind of things out, because I believe in calories, or the amount of energy going into your body, but then also the macronutrient breakdown of those calories, and then timing. I believe in timing as well. But past that, in seminars and stuff like that, we'll always give some cool tips. Those tips help maintain blood sugar, keep muscle protein synthesis high.
What's the importance of maintaining blood sugar? I think that's important because we hear a lot about diabetes. We know there's a lot of obesity out there, a lot of overweight, and that has to do with blood sugar, doesn't it? So how does that?
Blood sugar, it's literally the amount of glucose that's feeding your body. Your red blood cells cannot survive without glucose. So when we're hypo, and we're kind of feeling the shakes and not doing so well, versus when we have a higher blood sugar, then our body's having to produce more insulin and drive that somewhere, whether it's driving it back into your muscles and your liver as glycogen storage, or if your calories are too high, your energy is too high, you can store as fat. Carbs don't necessarily want to be stored as fat. They just don't. They want to be stored as glycogen.
Yeah. Because that's what fuels muscles.
Yeah.
For activity.
Exactly. It's like your gas tank. It's like your gas tank, literally. And like the glycogen or sugar water that you hold in a specific muscle is the energy for that muscle. You don't pull from one bicep glycogen to the other one. That's kind of what your liver's for.
Gotcha.
Holds a lot of.
Makes a lot of sense. But you mentioned timing.
Yeah.
Like, what's important about timing? How do you see timing on eating?
Timing has to do, I believe, with blood sugar. If we go too long without eating, our blood sugar will start to come down. It doesn't mean that we're going to crash and end up in the wall or something, depending on how your body reacts. Some get hypo and they're like, oh my gosh, I feel like I'm going to pass out. Some, they'll have a lower blood sugar and not even know it and not even feel it.
So is that like when you, let's say you eat a very high carbohydrate lunch, and you feel good after, maybe you go back to work? Has anybody ever experienced that? I know I have. And then about an hour or so later, there's this dip in energy and there's this sleepy, this need for an afternoon nap. So if you're an afternoon napper and it seems to happen an hour or so after your lunch, it might be something that you're eating.
It can be. It can be.
Or something
you're
just
a too big of a load caloric intake in that lunch. It could be too high in fats. It could be too high in carbs.
2 tablespoons of
2 tablespoons
almond butter
instead of 2 teaspoons.
See, we came in, I've been supposed to have 2 teaspoons of almond butter in my breakfast, and I've been doing 2 tablespoons. Fortunately, I've been able to metabolize that fat well enough, but hey, imagine if I had taken that off. So again, we're tracking it anyways. Doing that. So how often should everybody eat?
I really recommend every 3 to 4 hours.
Okay, why is that?
It'll help stabilize blood sugar, but it'll also keep your what's called muscle protein synthesis high, or basically rebuilding and maintaining and growing muscle mass.
Okay.
So that's where getting good protein, which is the second thing I always talk about when it comes to those general rules, and that's to always pair your, if you're going to have when you have a carbohydrate, maybe say it's a snack or in your meal, we always want to pair protein with it. And the reason why there is it helps slow it down. So we have what are called gastric emptying times, or how long it takes for a macronutrient, say carb, protein, and fat, to by itself empty out of the stomach and into small intestine. Carbs are super quick,
Right.
So they're like half hour, 45 minutes, kind of depending on the fiber that's part of that
If you
carb.
eat too much of them, it could be even faster than that.
yeah, that's why
Don't
you
want to
have
be too gross, but I mean, think about it. If you really eat a lot of sugar,
Oh yeah,
a lot of candy.
Oh, absolutely. That's why you're hungry right afterwards. You get that dump. Yeah.
Yep.
Protein.
No, I didn't say it, he said
it. And then protein takes it's like up to 2 hours, kind of depending on the type of protein, and then fats can take up to 5 hours.
Yeah.
So when we pair
Slower
things
burn.
together, we can slow down a meal. We can kind of slow down its emptying time, get more out of that meal. Having a higher, with like veggies and stuff like that, or high in fiber, slow that meal down so that you're not hungry in an hour.
Yeah.
And then you're like, man, I just ate, but now I got to eat. Well, what did you eat that in that last hour? Was it just a bunch of carbs? Did it have some protein with those carbs? What kind of fibers were in there? It's important.
Yeah.
It helps maintain the day so that we're not playing this catch-up game at the end of the day going, man, I didn't eat very much today, or what I ate was, pretty low quality. Of course you're going to overeat.
Yeah. And one of the things I've noticed with sticking to a 3 to 4 hour period with a good breakfast, which I didn't used to eat breakfast. I would drink coffee. So I would drink coffee with some supplementation in the coffee, but not enough to actually fuel me for the day.
Yeah.
But I've noticed a lack of those dips, those up and downs by eating sometimes the snacks are, I have a tiny little bowl, the Cheerios. I love Cheerios.
Cheerios are great carbs.
You think, oh my gosh, I don't want to eat Cheerios.
Nothing wrong with
Nothing. But in portion size, we'll get into that also.
Yeah, that's a whole nother conversation.
But to have that and half a banana, doesn't seem like a lot. It's not, but it keeps that blood sugar, blood glucose level where it needs to be.
So I'm protein in there and all sorts of stuff.
I'm good. And I notice I'm just rolling throughout the day. Workout or no workout, either way. And there's a mental clarity that goes along with this too, which we could probably have a whole nother live about that. So I eat every 3 to 4 hours.
Yeah, every 3 to 4 hours.
Number one.
Always pair your carb with the protein. So that kind of goes, when it comes to like maybe pre-workouts or during workout nutrition, eating carbs by themselves is fine. But anytime outside that, it's always great to pair that carb with protein. Just to help slow it down.
Like you said, that's great. I learn something every time with Matt. I know he said this before, but what happens is when you get involved with this and you really care about your health and what you're putting in your body, these things start to resonate a little bit more, so you understand, well, not just Matt said protein with a carb,
but why?
It's going to slow it down, which will allow me to use that energy longer. And as an athlete, understanding these things, especially before, during, and after a race, makes a big, big deal to understand proper nutrition and fueling for performance during the activity as well. Cool. Okay. What's the third
one?
thing?
We've labeled kind of like the 20% rule. It's just trying to stay away from more of the really sugary carbohydrates.
Like what?
Pop-Tarts.
I love Pop-Tarts. Or Amelia Boone. Popular. She's one of the top racers out there. She's a legend in the sport. She loves her Pop-Tarts. So Amelia, if you're watching, Pop-Tarts, love to you.
Just trying to keep, if we're having, for a good example here, say you had 100 grams of carbs for your lunch, which would be a lot. Then we don't want any more than 20% or 20 grams of those 100 really coming from sugar for a normal, just kind of general population weight.
And when you say sugar, are you talking about natural sugars such as those found in
Any
fruit?
sugar.
Sugar.
Good
enough.
Sugar. With sucrose.
Say that 10 times fast.
Sucrose, that we find, in more table sugars, those are usually our added sugars in a food, or even, our fruit sugars.
Right.
There's still, fructose and glucose combinations and stuff. So,
Okay.
I like to keep those, and that'll just kind of keep more of a stable energy throughout the day.
Okay. So don't eat a box of Pop-Tarts for lunch, is what you're saying.
Exactly. Not that there's anything wrong with Pop-Tarts.
You know what's really good with
It's
them?
just the amount.
If you put them in the toaster for a short while, and then you put butter on them.
Oh, I've never done that.
Oh.
I will absolutely do that. Maybe that's a weekend chore for me.
You guys didn't hear that. You didn't hear that, right? Eat your vegetables.
Eat your vegetables. Then the last one is track, and we kind of basically nailed that. Track what's going on. So when you're making adjustments, that you're looking past just a weight. You're looking deeper into it.
Tracking. Oh my gosh, I'm so glad you brought that up because that even goes outside of nutrition. We're obviously keeping this discussion within nutrition, but you got to track what you're doing. We don't know. We're not going to understand where we're going. I think I already said that before, right?
Yeah.
Like you got to have a map. You got to have an end goal that you're really looking to get to, but it doesn't end there. We're looking to get to an end goal for optimal performance for me and maintain that. So we have to look at how we're going to be able to get there. And we're tracking everything that's going in, since this is what we're talking about.
Yeah.
But you got to remember too, you can't outwork a bad diet. You can't out-train bad food.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of us look at that and go, well, I'll just work out harder. I'll run that extra mile. But that doesn't change the fact that you had 80% sugars with your carbs for lunch versus that 20% rule. So being able to track this stuff is super cool. It was fun to come in and get another in-body scan done today. What else, Matt? I mean, those are 4.
You had such great result. Just speaking what we're doing here, your results were so great today that we left the plan alone. It looks great. We're still going to be relatively aggressive going forward until we really kind of start bringing the caloric intake up as training increases. So we're going to still be a little aggressive here for the next couple of weeks to a month, and then really start hammering on what you're doing around your training and stuff like that, nutritionally as well. So
this is great.
You want to do this next week?
We're gonna,
2 weeks?
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll be back. We're going to do this again in 2 weeks and see where these results are. And I wanted to sit down with Matt today because he's a professional at this, and this is what he does. This is his business. He's passionate about it. He loves helping people, which is really cool. And like I said, he knows this stuff inside and out. And I've said this before: is if you don't take care of your body, where are you going to live? And I'm married. I have kids. I want to live a long time. I keep saying I'm going to live to be 100. I'm going to turn 50 next year. Can you believe it? So I'm halfway there. I would highly, highly recommend at least giving Matt a call. Call him here at the store. Locations here in Fort Collins and Boulder, right?
Yep.
So anywhere along the Front Range, Matt will meet with you personally, get on the in-body scan, work with you on your nutrition. Whether you're an athlete or not. Like I happen to be an athlete, which obviously this will appeal to athletes who are looking to increase their performance and starting with their nutrition. This is really for anybody and everybody.
From young kids to 90-year-olds. It runs the gamut. Energy balance, energy intake versus outtake. It still applies. No matter how little someone is, or how big they are, or how young they are, or how old they are, it all still applies. We can't just create or destroy energy out there. So we have to be able to measure it and understand it.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for watching. We appreciate you.
See you in 2 weeks.
There.
Yeah, absolutely.
Throw any questions in the comments. We'll be back in a couple weeks.
Absolutely.
See you, brother. All right. Anybody there?
Sean, Dwayne, and Kevin.
Hey, Sean and Kevin, thanks for being here.
I don't know how to end it.
There's an end button.
They're just
Finish.
like, oh, look, we didn't see behind